All right, let's talk about church finances. We're going to break down the handful of key numbers that every single pastor should know to lead with real confidence and clarity.
Look, as a pastor, you're guiding your congregation through some incredibly complex and uncertain times. That spiritual leadership, that's your number one calling. But here's the tough question we have to ask. Are you leading your budget with that same level of clarity?
And I get it, I really do. You were called to be a pastor, not a chief financial officer. You didn't go to seminary to learn how to read a balance sheet, right? And that pressure to suddenly be a financial expert on top of everything else, well, it can feel completely overwhelming.
But what if we could shift our thinking here? What if there was a framework that moved us away from all that financial anxiety and toward a proactive, faith-filled approach? Well, there is. And that's what we call being a visionary steward.
So on one side, you've got reactive leadership. This is the mindset of, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. The problem, as you know, is that sometimes that bridge is already on fire by the time you get there. But on the other side, you have visionary stewardship. This says, we build resilience now, while we have the capacity. It's all about preparing from a position of strength, not panic. So let's just define that really clearly. Visionary stewardship is simply the practice of faithfully managing God's resources with future-oriented wisdom. The key part is this. It's about preparing during the times of strength, the good times, so that you can sustain your mission through the inevitable times of uncertainty.
And listen, this isn't some new corporate buzzword. This idea is deeply biblical. Just think about Joseph. The man had incredible faith in God's provision, no question. But what did he do? He also spent 7 years of abundance building storehouses. You see, his faith and his practical preparation weren't in conflict at all. They were two sides of the very same coin.
Okay, so let's get super practical. You don't need that finance degree. You just need a simple dashboard with a few key indicators. We're going to break it down to just 3 numbers that honestly tell you almost everything you need to know about your church's financial health. So here's the first question you absolutely need to be able to answer. If, for whatever reason, your giving was suddenly cut in half, how many months could your church continue its core operations? Seriously, do you know that number off the top of your head?
That number is your financial runway. It tells you exactly how much time you have to make decisions if a crisis hits. Without knowing this number, you're basically flying blind right into a storm.
All right, now for the second metric. This one gets a little more specific and, for some, a little uncomfortable. What would actually happen to your budget if your most generous givers, let's say your top 20 donors, suddenly faced unemployment tomorrow?
This is what we call your donor vulnerability. See, it's not just about who gives, but it's about the economic stability of where that giving comes from. Understanding this is absolutely critical if you want to future-proof your mission against economic shifts that affect your key families.
And finally, the third question. We've talked about income, so now let's talk about outflow. It's such a simple but profound question. Where is your money actually going? Not where you think it's going or where the budget says it should go, but where is it really going, dollar by dollar?
Because here's a pretty shocking statistic. The average church right now is leaking between 15 and 20% of its annual budget. And these aren't some big, mysterious holes. It's the same stuff we see all the time. Redundant software subscriptions that 2 different departments are paying for, inefficient processes that are just wasting valuable staff time, or maybe paying for services you signed up for years ago that nobody even uses anymore. This is real money that could be funding your ministry right now. So knowing all this, you're probably asking, okay, how do I actually find these numbers for my church? How do I get that clarity? Let's walk through the very first step together.
Let's go back to Joseph's storehouses for a second. You can't build a resilient storehouse if it's full of holes, right? You just can't. And you can't prepare for the future if you're losing resources in the present. So the very first step to building that resilience is finding and plugging the leaks.
And we've made that really simple with a 4-step process. First, you just gather your key financial documents. Then, you work through each section to spot those potential leaks. From there, you calculate your total leak rate to see the scale of the issue. And finally, and this is the fun part, you prioritize and fix the biggest items first to get some quick wins. Now, this whole process is laid out in a tool we built called the Budget Leak Detector. It's designed to help you find the money you're already spending to fund the ministry you are called to do. The Budget Leak Detector is available in the Church Ready Resource Hub. To gain access, download our free pastoral report, When AI Replaces Your Tither's Job. There's a link in the description. Okay, let's zoom out for a minute. Because this isn't just about plugging leaks or saving money. It's about what that financial health actually makes possible. It's about building a truly resilient church.
I want you to really let this quote sink in for a second. Churches with margin make strategic decisions. Churches without margin make desperate decisions. See, financial health gives you margin, and margin gives you options. It gives you the freedom to make choices based on your mission, not out of desperation.
So if you take away one thing, let it be this: wise preparation, building that margin, knowing your numbers. This is not a lack of faith. It is faith in action. It's stewarding the resources God has already given you so you are ready for where He is leading you next.
And here's the ultimate payoff for you as a leader. Financial clarity doesn't just fix your budget. It frees up your pastoral capacity. It literally takes that weight of financial anxiety off your shoulders and empowers you and your entire leadership team to make bold decisions based on mission, not just money. So the question before you is pretty simple. Will you continue to lead reactively, just hoping to cross bridges when you come to them? Or will you make the choice today to become a visionary steward, building resilience now while you have the capacity? The choice is yours.
If you are a pastor or church leader, download the free pastoral report, When AI Replaces Your Tithers' Jobs, so you can begin the conversations your leadership team needs to have. There is a link in the description. Until next time, lead well, steward wisely, and trust deeply.